Elderly woman spent her last $10 helping biker. Next day, 50 riders brought a life-changing gift. The wind carried the faint hum of engines down the dusty road that led to Willow Creek, a quiet town most people forgot existed. At the edge of town stood a small, fading cottage, its paint peeling and roof sagging. Inside lived Martha Green, a 73-year-old widow who survived on little more than canned soup, prayer, and kindness. Her husband, Harold, had passed away 10 years earlier. Since then, life had grown harder. Her savings ran dry, her pension barely covered food, and her old Ford pickup refused to start. Yet despite her struggles, Martha had never turned away anyone in need. That Tuesday morning, the sky was the color of pewter. Martha was walking home from the corner store, her thin hands clutching a brown paper bag with a few essentials: bread, a can of beans, and one small bottle of milk. Her change purse was nearly empty. Inside, only $10 remained, all she had until the next month's check. Halfway home, she heard the distant roar of a motorcycle sputtering and coughing. Ahead, on the side of the road, a man in a leather jacket was bent over his bike, frustration written across his face. Martha hesitated. The biker looked rough, tattoos, beard, heavy boots, the kind of man small towns whispered about. But something in his eyes, when he looked up, wasn't dangerous at all. "It was defeated, ma'am," he called out as she approached. "You wouldn't happen to know where I can get some gas, would you?" Martha smiled faintly. "Nearest station's 5 miles that way," she said, pointing down the empty road. "And I'm afraid they closed early today." "Tuesdays they always do." The man cursed under his breath, then sighed. "Figures. Guess I'll have to push this beast." He tried to laugh it off, but his voice cracked with exhaustion. Martha looked at his worn boots, the dirt on his hands, and the slump of his shoulders. He looked like someone who'd been riding a long time, maybe running from something, maybe running towards something, without thinking twice. She said, "Wait here, son." She walked back to her cottage, fetched the old gas can from her shed, and poured in what little she had left from her mower. It wasn't much, maybe half a gallon. Then she reached into her purse and pulled out her last $10 bill. She returned to the biker and handed him the can. "It's not much, but it'll get you to the station in the morning. There's a diner 2 blocks down, best pie in the county. Get yourself a warm meal." The biker blinked, stunned. "Ma'am, I can't take your money." Martha smiled kindly. "You can, and you will. My Harold used to say, when life kicks you down, help someone else up, and that's how you stand again." The man's throat tightened. He took the gas can, his voice barely a whisper. "Thank you. You don't even know me," she chuckled softly. "Maybe not. But God does." He nodded, eyes wet. "Name's Duke," he said. "I'll pay you back, I promise." Martha waved a hand. "Just pay it forward." That night, Duke sat in the diner long after it closed, turning the crumpled $10 bill over in his hand. He hadn't met anyone that kind in years. Life on the road had hardened him. His biker brothers, the long rides, the lonely nights, but that frail woman had reminded him of something he thought he'd lost: decency. He asked the waitress about her. Everyone in town knew Martha Green. Sweet old lady with the blue shawl, they said. Barely gets by but never complains. Duke didn't sleep that night. The next morning, as the sun rose, the sound of motorcycles echoed down the road again. Not one, but dozens. By noon, the townsfolk gathered outside Martha's cottage, startled by the sight. 50 bikers, leather jackets glinting in the sunlight, engines rumbling like distant thunder, lined the dirt road. Martha peeked out from behind her curtain, thinking maybe there'd been some kind of accident. Then she heard a knock. When she opened the door, there stood Duke, freshly shaved, wearing a smile that could melt steel. Behind him were his fellow riders, each holding something: boxes, bags, and envelopes. "Martha," Duke said, removing his cap, "you helped me when I had nothing. Told me to pay it forward, so I did. I told my brothers your story." Martha blinked, confused. "Your brothers?" He nodded toward the roaring crowd. "The Iron Souls. We've all been down on our luck before. Veterans, mechanics, drifters. We know what it's like to be forgotten. But you didn't forget me. Before she could speak, one of the bikers wheeled something forward, a brand new mobility scooter painted soft blue like the sky after rain. Another stepped up and handed her an envelope. Martha's hands trembled as she opened it. Inside was a stack of bills, $12,000. Her lips quivered. I don't understand, Duke smiled. We took up a collection. Every rider pitched in. Some of us called in favors. You said you wanted nothing, but that's not how this world should work. You gave me your last $10. We're giving you back 100 times that. Tears streamed down her cheeks. Oh, my lord! The crowd clapped and cheered. A few riders wiped away their own tears, pretending it was just dust. One biker shouted, We fixed up your roof too, ma'am. Hope you don't mind us poking around. Another laughed. And check your fridge. Fully stocked. Martha looked around, overwhelmed. The noise, the kindness, the laughter, it all swirled together like a dream. Finally, she turned to Duke and whispered, Why me? He smiled softly. Because you reminded a lost man what humanity looks like. That evening, the bikers stayed for pie and coffee. The little cottage, once silent, now echoed with the sound of laughter, stories, and roaring engines. The Iron Souls promised to visit often. We're your family now, Duke said. When the sun began to set, they mounted their bikes one by one. Before leaving, Duke knelt beside her porch steps. That $10 changed my life, Martha, he said. Funny how sometimes the smallest kindness makes the loudest noise. Martha chuckled, patting his cheek. Go make more noise then, he grinned. Yes, ma'am. As the engines faded into the distance, Martha sat in her rocking chair, the soft blue scooter parked beside her. She looked at the crumpled $10 bill still resting on the table, the one Duke had framed, and returned to her. Below it, he'd written a note. This isn't money anymore. It's proof that goodness still exists. Martha smiled through her tears and whispered, Harold, I think you were right, and when you help someone up, you stand taller too. That night, the stars seemed brighter over Willow Creek, and somewhere on a lonely highway, 50 engines roared beneath the moon, riding for a woman who had given her last $10, and in doing so, changed 50 hearts forever. Word count, 1012. Would you like me to create a YouTube title, SEO description, keywords, and hashtags for this story? High CTR optimized.